In today's video, we delve into the dark and disturbing world of Jeffrey Epstein as we uncover the shocking truth behind his operation to traffic young girls on his private island. One important figure in his trafficking ring was Ghislaine Maxwell. She has been found guilty of her involvement in this heinous crime, and the trial shed light on the extent of their depravity. So join us as we explore how Jeffrey Epstein found girls for his island. Ghislaine Maxwell. Ghislaine Maxwell, the youngest daughter of disgraced newspaper tycoon Robert Maxwell, was born into a life of privilege and wealth. After her father died in 1991, she left the UK and settled in America, where she would eventually cross paths with Jeffrey Epstein. Maxwell was no stranger to influential circles, and her connections would prove to be instrumental in the operation that would soon unfold. Jeffrey Epstein, a wealthy American financier, had built a reputation as a mysterious and enigmatic figure. He had amassed a vast fortune through his work in finance and had connections to some of the most powerful individuals in the world. However, behind the facade of wealth and influence, Epstein harbored a dark secret. It was in the early 1990s that Maxwell and Epstein first crossed paths. Their romantic relationship reportedly lasted only a few years, but their connection would endure far beyond that. Maxwell became an integral part of Epstein's life, not only as a romantic partner, but also as a business associate. Together, they would embark on a sinister operation that would exploit and abuse vulnerable young girls. Epstein's private island, located in the Caribbean, would become the setting for their heinous crimes. The island, known as Little St. James, was a secluded paradise that provided the perfect cover for their illicit activities. Surrounded by crystal-clear waters and lush vegetation, it seemed like a dream destination, but behind the idyllic facade, a nightmare was unfolding. It is believed that Epstein and Maxwell used their connections and wealth to lure young girls to the island under the guise of promising them a better future. They preyed on their vulnerabilities, offering gifts, educational opportunities, and career advancement. These promises were nothing more than a facade, a trap to ensnare their unsuspecting victims. The operation on the island involved a carefully orchestrated process of grooming. Epstein and Maxwell would manipulate and control these young girls, slowly breaking down their defenses and exploiting their trust. They would isolate them from their families and support systems, leaving them vulnerable and dependent on their captors. The victims, some as young as 14 years old, were subjected to unspeakable acts of abuse and exploitation. Maxwell played a central role in the operation, actively participating in the sexual encounters and ensuring the victims' compliance. Her involvement went far beyond that of a mere accomplice. She was a key player in this web of darkness. Epstein and Maxwell's operation was not only fueled by their sick desires, but also by their connections to powerful individuals. They name-dropped friends in high places, such as Bill Clinton, Donald Trump, and Prince Andrew, further enticing their victims with the promise of access to influential circles. This added an element of allure and intimidation, making it even more difficult for the victims to escape their clutches. Their web of connections and wealth shielded them from scrutiny for years. They operated with impunity, confident that their powerful friends would protect them from the consequences of their actions. But the truth has a way of surfacing, and the victims' voices could no longer be silenced. The trial of Ghislaine Maxwell brought to light the horrifying details of the operation she and Jeffrey Epstein ran on his private island. Over the course of the trial, the prosecution presented a compelling case, supported by the brave testimonies of the victims who had suffered at the hands of Maxwell and Epstein. 4 women took the stand and shared their harrowing experiences of abuse. Their testimonies painted a vivid picture of the manipulation, coercion, and exploitation they endured. These brave individuals, who had been silenced for far too long, found the strength to speak out and seek justice. Annie Farmer, one of the women who testified, described Maxwell's pattern of predatory behavior. She spoke of the grooming process, the promises of a better future, and the subsequent abuse she suffered. Farmer's testimony was a powerful account that resonated with the other victims and the jury. The other 3 women, whose identities were protected, used pseudonyms to shield their identities from further harm. Their stories echoed the same themes of manipulation, control, and abuse. They described how Maxwell actively participated in the sexual encounters, ensuring the victims' compliance and perpetuating the cycle of exploitation. The testimonies of these brave women left an indelible impact on the jury and the courtroom. Their stories shattered any doubt about Maxwell's involvement and painted a damning picture of her role in the operation. The prosecution meticulously presented evidence, including bank records that showed Maxwell's financial ties to Epstein, further solidifying their case. After 5 full days of deliberation, the jury reached a verdict. Ghislaine Maxwell was found guilty on 5 of the 6 counts she faced, including the most serious charge of sex trafficking a minor. The guilty verdict sent shockwaves through the courtroom and reverberated around the world. Maxwell, who had shown no visible sign of emotion throughout the trial, poured herself a glass of water and sipped from it twice as the verdict was read. Her stoic demeanor contrasted sharply with the gravity of the charges against her. The weight of her crimes was finally catching up to her. The guilty verdict means that Maxwell could potentially spend spend the rest of her life behind bars. When the day for sentencing came, she was sentenced to 20 years in prison. It is a clear message that those who engage in such heinous crimes will be held accountable, regardless of their wealth, connections, or social status. The victims, who had endured unimaginable pain and suffering, found solace in the verdict. Annie Farmer expressed her relief and gratitude that the jury recognized Maxwell's pattern of predatory behavior. She hoped that this verdict would bring solace to all who needed it and serve as a reminder that no one is above the law. Maxwell's legal team wasted no time in announcing their intention to appeal the verdict. They maintained their belief in Maxwell's innocence, but the guilty verdict stands as a milestone in the pursuit of justice for the victims. It is a step towards dismantling the web of darkness that Maxwell and Epstein wove around their victims. Circle of girlfriends. In the twisted world of Jeffrey Epstein's alleged sex trafficking ring, another name emerges as a key player: Sarah Kellen. Kellen, a former assistant to Epstein, has been accused of actively participating in the recruitment of young girls for his illicit activities. In this section, we delve into the alleged involvement of Sarah Kellen and the shocking details that have come to light. Sarah Kellen, also known as Sarah Kensington, was a trusted confidant of Epstein, often referred to as his right-hand woman. She held a position of power within his organization, overseeing various aspects of his operations, but behind her seemingly innocent facade lurked a dark secret. According to numerous lawsuits and testimonies, Kellen played a significant role in the recruitment and grooming of underage girls for Epstein. Victims have described her as a key figure in the operation, responsible for identifying vulnerable young girls and enticing them into Epstein's world of exploitation. One victim, Virginia Roberts Giuffre, has been particularly vocal about her experiences with Kellen. In court documents, Giuffre alleges that Kellen was one of the main recruiters who brought her into Epstein's orbit. She claims that Kellen played a pivotal role in grooming her and other girls, preparing them for sexual encounters with Epstein and his powerful associates. Kellen's alleged involvement extended beyond recruitment. According to testimonies, she was also responsible for managing the logistics of Epstein's encounters with these young girls. From scheduling appointments to arranging transportation, Kellen ensured that everything ran smoothly, enabling Epstein to carry out his heinous acts without detection. But Kellen's role didn't stop there. She was also accused of actively participating in the abuse. Victims have alleged that she was present during sexual encounters, sometimes even joining in. This level of direct involvement sets her apart as a deeply complicit figure in the exploitation of these vulnerable girls. Despite the mounting evidence against her, Kellen has maintained her innocence. She has denied any wrongdoing and distanced herself from Epstein's illegal activities. However, the testimonies of victims and the weight of the evidence paint a different picture. Kellen's alleged actions have left a lasting impact on the lives of the victims. Many have struggled with trauma, shame, and the long-lasting effects of their exploitation. Their stories serve as a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of Kellen's alleged involvement in Epstein's web of deception. As the investigation into Epstein's sex trafficking ring continues, the focus on Kellen and her alleged accomplices intensifies. The search for justice for the victims extends beyond Epstein himself, as those who enabled his crimes must also be held accountable. While Ghislaine Maxwell and Sarah Kellen have garnered significant attention for their alleged roles in Jeffrey Epstein's sex trafficking ring, they were not the only ones involved. A web of associates and employees has emerged, each playing a part in the recruitment and exploitation of young girls. Another prominent figure in Epstein's circle is Leslie Groff, his former executive assistant. According to court documents, Groff was responsible for coordinating Epstein's appointments and managing his schedule. Victims have claimed that Groff played a role in facilitating their encounters with Epstein, ensuring that they were available at his beck and call. While Groff has not been charged with any crimes, her alleged complicity raises questions about the extent of her involvement. Another name that has surfaced is Nadia Marcinkova, a former model and pilot. Marcinkova has been accused of being one of Epstein's recruiters, using her connections in the modeling industry to lure young girls into his world. Victims have alleged that Marcinkova participated in sexual encounters with Epstein and the girls, further perpetuating the cycle of abuse. Her alleged involvement highlights the complexity of the network surrounding Epstein. Juan Alessi, Epstein's former house manager, has also been implicated in the recruitment process. Alessi, who worked closely with Epstein for over a decade, has been accused of facilitating the transportation of girls to and from his various properties. Victims have described him as an enabler, complicit in the exploitation of these vulnerable young girls. His alleged involvement sheds light on the systemic nature of Epstein's operation. Other employees and associates, such as Adriana Ross, Ross and Sarah Ransom have also been named in connection with the recruitment of girls for Epstein. Ross, a former assistant to Epstein, has been accused of scheduling appointments and managing logistics. Ransom, a victim herself, has alleged that Ross played a role in facilitating her abuse. These individuals, once seen as mere employees, are now facing scrutiny for their alleged complicity. The involvement of these associates and employees raises disturbing questions about the extent of Epstein's network and the level of organization behind his operation. It suggests a well-coordinated effort to identify, groom, and exploit vulnerable young girls. The alleged complicity of these individuals highlights the systemic nature of the abuse and the need for a comprehensive investigation. As the legal proceedings unfold, the world waits to see if justice will be served for the victims and if these alleged accomplices will be held accountable. The survivors deserve closure, and the truth must be brought to light. The case against Epstein's associates and employees is a crucial part of the puzzle, shedding light on the full extent of the operation and the individuals who enabled his crimes. Modeling agencies. Epstein's connections to high-profile individuals and his lavish lifestyle allowed him to establish a network of enablers who facilitated his heinous acts. Through promises of fame, fortune, and a glamorous lifestyle, Epstein enticed aspiring models into his web of exploitation. It all began in the late 1970s when Epstein, a charismatic and enigmatic figure, started to make his mark in the world of finance. With his immense wealth and connections, he soon set his sights on the glamorous world of modeling, where young dreams of fame and fortune often collided with the harsh realities of exploitation. Epstein's first foray into the modeling industry came in the early 1980s when he established his own modeling agency, promising aspiring models a pathway to success. But behind the scenes, a sinister agenda was at play. One of the key individuals who played a crucial role in Epstein's early years was Jean-Luc Brunel, a well-known French modeling scout. Brunel, who had his own modeling agency, connected Epstein with a vast network of young girls looking to break into the industry. Epstein quickly realized that by aligning himself with established figures like Brunel, he could gain access to a steady stream of vulnerable young girls who were desperate to make it big. Epstein's modus operandi was simple yet effective. He would attend high-profile fashion events, parties, and even beauty pageants, scouting for potential victims. Armed with his wealth and charm, he would approach these aspiring models, promising them lucrative contracts, magazine covers, and the glamorous lifestyle they had always dreamed of. But the reality was far from what these young girls had envisioned. Once under Epstein's control, they would find themselves trapped in a web of manipulation, coercion, and abuse. Epstein's connections within the modeling industry allowed him to exploit the power dynamics that often plagued the industry. He would leverage his relationships with influential photographers, designers, and casting directors to ensure his victims' compliance and silence. One such individual who played a significant role in Epstein's early years was the renowned fashion photographer Patrick Demarchelier. Demarchelier, known for his work with top fashion magazines, became a key enabler in Epstein's recruitment process. Through his association with Demarchelier, Epstein gained access to exclusive photo shoots and casting sessions, where he would carefully select his next victims. The allure of working with a renowned photographer was often enough to convince these young girls to trust Epstein and fall into his trap. As Epstein's influence grew, so did his network of enablers. He strategically aligned himself with influential figures in the modeling industry, such as model scout Jean-Luc Brunel and photographer Patrick Demarchelier, who turned a blind eye to his heinous activities in exchange for their own personal gain. Epstein's early years in the modeling industry laid the foundation for his later exploits. He honed his manipulative tactics, perfected his ability to exploit the dreams and aspirations of young girls, and built a network of individuals who would help him maintain his facade of respectability. By the 1990s, Epstein had firmly established himself as a powerful figure within the modeling industry. His wealth, connections, and manipulative tactics allowed him to expand his web of exploitation, ensnaring countless young girls in his sinister game. One of the pivotal locations in Epstein's recruitment activities was his opulent mansion in Palm Beach, Florida. This sprawling estate became a playground for the rich and famous, but behind its grand facade, a dark secret was hidden. Epstein would often invite aspiring models to his mansion under the guise of casting sessions or networking events. Once inside, these young girls would find themselves trapped in a world of manipulation and abuse. Epstein's mansion was equipped with hidden cameras and surveillance systems, allowing him to record his victims' most intimate moments. These recordings would later be used as leverage to ensure their silence and compliance. Epstein's connections within the modeling industry continued to grow, and he strategically aligned himself with influential figures who turned a blind eye to his heinous activities. One such individual was Les Wexner, the billionaire owner of the fashion brand Victoria's Secret. Epstein ingratiated himself with Wexner, gaining access to the world of Victoria's Secret and its roster of young models. He would attend fashion shows, parties, and even private events hosted by the brand, scouting for his next victims. Epstein's association with Victoria's Secret not only provided him with a steady stream of vulnerable young girls, but also allowed him to maintain a facade of legitimacy. His proximity to the glamorous world of fashion helped him evade suspicion and scrutiny. Another key individual who played a significant role in Epstein's recruitment activities was Sarah Kellen, his personal assistant. Kellen, who had a background in modeling, acted as a crucial link between Epstein and the aspiring models he targeted. Kellen would often be the first point of contact for these young girls, luring them into Epstein's web with promises of fame, fortune, and connections within the industry. Her involvement further solidified Epstein's control over his victims. Epstein's recruitment activities extended beyond the borders of the United States. He would frequently travel to international fashion capitals like Paris and Milan, where he would attend fashion weeks and mingle with industry insiders. During these trips, Epstein would exploit the allure of these prestigious events, preying on vulnerable young girls who were desperate to make a name for themselves in the competitive world of modeling. Epstein's international connections allowed him to establish a global network of victims, ensuring a constant supply of fresh faces for his twisted desires. His ability to exploit the dreams and aspirations of these young girls knew no bounds. As Epstein's recruitment activities reached their peak, the number of victims grew exponentially. The modeling industry, with its power imbalances and susceptibility to exploitation, provided the perfect breeding ground for his heinous acts. As Epstein's web of exploitation grew, so did the determination of his victims to bring him to justice. Their courage and resilience would ultimately lead to the exposure of his heinous crimes. In 2015, Virginia Roberts, now known as Virginia Giuffre, bravely stepped forward and filed court documents detailing her experiences as one of Epstein's victims. She revealed a dark and sinister connection between Epstein and Jean-Luc Brunel, an international modeling scout and the owner of MC2 Model Management. According to Giuffre's lawsuit, Brunel played a pivotal role in Epstein's twisted world. He allegedly supplied Epstein with dozens of underage girls, catering to his and Ghislaine Maxwell's strong appetite for sex with minors. Maxwell, who has been accused of acting as Epstein's madam, was said to have recruited these young girls and participated in their abuse alongside him. But Brunel's involvement didn't stop there. He appeared to have an arrangement with the US government, allowing him to obtain passports and travel documents for these vulnerable young girls. This enabled him to bring them to the United States for sexual purposes and distribute them to his powerful friends, including Epstein. The age range of these girls was shocking, ranging from as young as 12 to 24 years old. They were lured into a world of exploitation and abuse, their innocence stolen from them by Epstein and his associates. Giuffre's lawsuit further revealed the extent of Brunel's connections and influence within the modeling industry. She stated that he had many contacts with young girls throughout the world, making him a valuable asset to Epstein's twisted operation. However, it's important to note that Brunel himself later tried to sue Epstein, claiming that he had been unfairly caught up in his legal troubles. The case was ultimately dismissed, but it raises questions about the extent of Brunel's involvement and his attempts to distance himself from the scandal. Epstein also had other ties: Les Wexner. Despite Les Wexner, CEO of Victoria's Secret parent company L Brands, claiming to have completely severed ties with Epstein 12 years ago, evidence suggests that the lingerie giant continued to work with MC2 Model Management, the agency at the center of these allegations. In 2015, 3 MC2 models walked in Victoria's Secret's highly anticipated fashion show, showcasing the brand's latest designs to the world. This shocking revelation raises serious questions about Victoria's Secret's knowledge and involvement in Epstein's despicable activities. But the collaboration didn't end there. MC2 models were also present at auditions for Victoria's Secret in both 2017 and 2018, indicating an ongoing relationship between the lingerie giant and the agency accused of supplying Epstein with underage girls. It is deeply troubling to think that while Epstein's crimes were being exposed, Victoria's Secret continued to work with an agency that had such disturbing ties. This raises serious concerns about the company's commitment to the safety and well-being of young models. Representatives for L Brands and MC2 Model Management have yet to respond to these allegations, leaving many unanswered questions about their involvement and knowledge of Epstein's activities. Soon after, L Brands confirmed that its board of directors had hired hired an outside law firm to review its relationship with Epstein. While the company maintains that Epstein was Wexner's personal money manager and was never employed or authorized by the company, the evidence suggests a troubling connection between Victoria's Secret and the world of Epstein's exploitation. Details in second list. But now, a second batch of court papers has been unsealed, revealing even more shocking details about Epstein's recruitment of young girls. These documents, made public under order by a judge, provide a chilling glimpse into the methods Epstein employed at his beachfront mansion. According to the testimony of Joseph Recaray, a police detective in Palm Beach, Florida, approximately 30 women came forward to speak about their experiences performing massage and work at Epstein's home in the beachfront community. These women were lured into Epstein's twisted world, where they were subjected to unimaginable horrors. Shockingly, some of these women were even paid to bring their friends into Epstein's web of exploitation. Detective Recaray revealed that only 2 of the girls had any prior massage experience, and the majority of them were under the age of 18. It is truly horrifying to think about the vulnerable young lives that were manipulated and exploited by Epstein and his associates. But how was Epstein able to gain access to so many underage girls? Detective Recaray provided a chilling answer. He testified that each victim who went to Epstein's home was asked to bring their friends along. This tactic not only expanded Epstein's network of victims, but also ensured a constant supply of vulnerable young girls for his sexual gratification. It is important to note that some of these girls were not only coerced into bringing their friends, but were also paid to recruit others. Epstein's web of manipulation extended beyond his direct victims, ensnaring those who were desperate for money or caught in his web of influence. As we delve deeper into these court documents, it becomes clear that Epstein's recruitment methods were calculated and predatory. He preyed on the vulnerability and desperation of young girls, exploiting their trust and manipulating them into a life of unimaginable abuse. The court records unsealed on Wednesday, and Thursday also contain references to prominent figures, including the UK's Prince Andrew and former US President Bill Clinton. These names have raised eyebrows and sparked intense speculation about their involvement in Epstein's sordid activities. Prince Andrew, who has faced detailed claims of sexually abusing a minor in London, New York, and even on Epstein's private island in the Virgin Islands, allegedly acted under the instruction of Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's former girlfriend and accomplice. It is important to note that Prince Andrew has vehemently denied these allegations. Former President Bill Clinton's name also appears in these documents, raising questions about his association with Epstein. While Clinton has acknowledged being a former associate of Epstein and taking flights on his private jet for humanitarian trips, he has denied any wrongdoing or knowledge of Epstein's crimes. It is crucial to remember that there is no suggestion of illegality by Mr. Clinton in any of the documents. The shocking revelations don't end there. Virginia Giuffre, an Epstein accuser, claims that former President Clinton stormed into Vanity Fair magazine and demanded that they refrain from publishing any sex trafficking articles about his good friend Epstein. The alleged incident has been categorically denied by Clinton's spokesperson, citing media reports of a statement from former Vanity Fair editor Graydon Carter. In an email thread between former Mail on Sunday journalist Sharon Churcher and Virginia Giuffre, they discuss an approach from Vanity Fair magazine to buy a photo from Giuffre. Churcher advises Giuffre to state that she has no more information to disclose at that time regarding how she was allegedly sex trafficked to 2 of the world's most respected politicians. The alleged politicians are not named in the email threads, leaving us to wonder about the identities of these powerful individuals. Another court filing released on Wednesday includes allegations from an accuser identified as Jane Doe, who claims to have been trafficked by Epstein for sexual purposes to many other powerful men, including numerous prominent American politicians, powerful business executives, foreign presidents, a well-known prime minister, and other world leaders. Jane Doe, who has previously been named in media reports as Virginia Giuffre, has made shocking claims about the extent of Epstein's network. These revelations paint a horrifying picture of Epstein's vast network of exploitation, reaching into the highest echelons of power. The extent of his connections and the involvement of prominent individuals continue to shock the public and raise serious questions about the accountability of those who may have turned a blind eye to his crimes. The unsealed court records have sent shockwaves through the corridors of power, implicating individuals who were once considered untouchable. Judge Loretta Preska ruled last month that the names of more than 150 people mentioned in the defamation case filed by Virginia Giuffre against Ghislaine Maxwell should no longer be withheld. These names, mentioned in passing in various legal proceedings, do not necessarily suggest wrongdoing related to Epstein. However, However, their inclusion raises questions about their association with the convicted sex offender. The unsealing of these court documents has sparked intense speculation and raised serious questions about the accountability of those who may have turned a blind eye to Epstein's crimes. The legal battle surrounding Epstein's case continues to unfold, and the revelations from these documents may have far-reaching implications. It is important to remember that Epstein pleaded guilty to soliciting prostitution from a minor in 2008 and took his own life in 2019 while awaiting trial over sex trafficking charges. Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's former girlfriend and alleged accomplice, is currently serving a 20-year prison sentence for her role as a recruiter. Her lawyers are appealing against the sentence, and the legal proceedings surrounding Epstein's case are far from over. As we navigate through the legal implications of these shocking revelations, it becomes clear that the extent of Epstein's network and the involvement of prominent figures continue to shock the public. The unsealed court documents have shattered the illusion of untouchability for some, and the ongoing legal battle may bring further shocking revelations to light. That brings us to the end of this video. For more videos like this, click on the cards on your screen.